Hello, everyone, again. Thank you for joining us in the 10-minute Bible lesson. We've been studying about the things that Jesus has been speaking about. In particular, he's been talking about, I think that we covered one place where he was talking about charitable deeds in a way that how we're supposed to give charitably to other people. He kind of discussed that. He also did a lesson about prayer, how we're to pray, and how our attitude is about prayer. Now, today, we're going to talk about something that I'm betting and guessing that you're not going to be real excited about. Because Jesus is going to be talking about fasting. That's right, about fasting. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what he says about it in Matthew chapter 6, verse 16. Here's what he says. He says, "Moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites, with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear to men to be fasting. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward." Have you ever fasted? I'm betting that you have, at least some way, at some time in your life. Now, most of us, when we think about fasting, we're thinking about that we just deprive ourselves of food. I mean, you can fast about other things. You could fast about something that you really, really, really enjoy, and you say, you know what, I'm going to not do that for a while, and just kind of, in a sense, it'll be kind of like a fast or a sacrifice. So I think that's interesting. So Jesus is going to be talking to us about this. I have to say that I have fasted. Can I just say this too? I don't really like to. And it's been actually probably quite a while since I don't even know if I can remember the last time that I fasted. It's not easy. I mean, if you think it's easy, let me just suggest this. You go for a 24-hour period without eating any food. And you'll see, because people do that, and they do even more than that. Some people fast 3 days, 7 days. I was reading in the book of Acts where Paul was on his way to Rome as a prisoner in a ship, and the ship had 276 people on it and got caught in a storm. It was a terrific storm. It was a storm that was so bad it was endangering the safety of the ship and the lives of the people on it. In fact, people thought they were going to die. All of them had actually given up and believed that they were going to die. But Paul said this. He said, "An angel of God stood by me tonight and said that no one will perish. Not even a hair of your head will perish." And he said this. He said, "It's been 14 days since you've had any food." He says, "Now I beseech you to take bread, because God is going to protect us and save us." But that amazes me that they had been 14 days without bread. Now, why do people fast? Well, sometimes they fast, I think, when there's something really big going on in their life, something really, really important, and they want to get an answer from God. Now, sometimes that happens. But sometimes people fast just because they would like to bring themselves closer to God. And I think different people have different reasons why they may fast. Now, here in this passage, Jesus is saying, when we fast, not to make ourselves appear. Now, that's the key. When we fast, not to make ourselves appear to be fasting before men. How can we make ourselves appear to be fasting? Jesus said this. He says, "The hypocrites disfigure their faces." Can you picture that? It's almost comical when you think about it. Why in the world would someone disfigure their face, make their face look ugly and horrible? The reason why is they want other people to think that they're fasting, and then have a different opinion of them and think, wow, these people really sacrificing to God. Well, he tells us not to do that. Let's look at a couple of more verses in Matthew 6, verses 17 and 18. He says, "But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Now, these instructions Jesus gives are very similar to the instructions that he gave when he was talking about doing charitable deeds. Do you remember that? When you're doing kindness and good deeds to other people, do them in secret. The same thing he said about prayer. When you pray in secret. In fact, Jesus said this. He said that it will be to our Father who is in the secret place. Now, we talked about that last time, about the secret place. All of us have a secret place. The secret place is where the real us lives. It's where our character is and the kind of person that we are. It's the place that God sees, because God sees in the secret. And that's what Jesus said. He's looking to see us in our secret place. And so that's what we're doing. We're fasting before men. So what should we do? We should comb our hair, or it says anoint your head, comb your hair, wash your face, and give no indication whatsoever to others that we're doing this. And why are we doing this? Because we're doing it to God, and we want to be pleasing to God. Now, it's really, really a big deal if we could get to this point in our life. You say, Tom, what point are you talking about? Getting to the point in our life where it's really important to us to please God rather than men. That's a really big step in our relationship with God. If we could live our life to please God, even if it causes us to fall into disfavor among men, at least it'd be pleasing God. What a great thing that would be. Now let me look at another verse, because we're also going to be talking about in this Bible lesson what Jesus said, what Jesus had to say about our treasure. Have you got a treasure? Let's see what Jesus says in Matthew 6, verses 19 and 20. He says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. There's so much truth. Listen, everything that Jesus said is truth. His words, all of his words are truth. And even sometimes when they pierce us and make us kind of feel bad, but they're great words. And here he says more truth, and it's more truth about treasure. Now, I get this. I understand this. I actually understand what Jesus is saying here when he's saying for us to lay up treasure in heaven. Now, I'm not saying that I do that. I want to do that. I need to do that. I ought to do it. I just said I understand it. Now, let me just give you a little scenario. I'm not saying, I'm just kind of making this up in my own mind. But you get up to heaven and you say to Jesus, Jesus, where's my treasure chest? Oh, where's my safety deposit box? And Jesus says, okay, here's your key to your safety deposit box. And you go over there and you open your safety deposit box and you go, whoa, there's not hardly anything in there. It's almost empty. I don't know, somehow I just pictured that and thought that was kind of funny. It's really kind of sad. But you know what? We need to lay up treasure. Now, how do we do that? How do we lay up treasure up in heaven? Well, we have to be generous with our money and our possessions. So what we do is we're giving to the work that builds up God's kingdom. You know, what would that be? Well, I think one thing would be the local church. I love the local church. I think it's really important, but there's other things too. There's like the City Rescue Mission. There's the Jesus House, right? There's also Samaritan's Purse, which is a great and a fantastic organization. There's missionaries, there's Bible colleges, there's all kinds. There's people that are in need. There's all kinds of ways that we can be generous. Now, as we're generous in these things, are we not laying up treasures in heaven? I'm thinking that we are. We're investing in the kingdom of God. We're investing in eternal things. Now, there's something in this verse that does bother me a little bit, I have to admit. And that is where Jesus says for us not to lay up treasures on earth. I understand what he means. He says where the moth doesn't eat it and the rust doesn't cause it to rust and thieves don't come in. He's just saying it's so fleeting, our treasures that we lay up. They can be here today and gone tomorrow. It's just the way it is down here, but it's just kind of almost part of the way we are. We were always taught, hey, you know what, you need to save. You need to be frugal. You need to do something so you'll have a little security. That's kind of how we feel. And that's kind of what bothers me. But Jesus said this. He said for us to lay up treasure in heaven. So the truth of the matter is that our treasure in heaven is much more secure than our treasure down here, right? Well, let's look at the last verse. Now listen, I think there's just 11 words in this last verse, but boy, they're potent. So Jesus says in Matthew 6:21, he says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And I got to thinking about that. I got to thinking about my heart, and I got to thinking about my treasure, and I was thinking about, Tom, what are the things that you treasure? And I thought, well, I treasure my family. You know, I treasure my health. I guess the truth of the matter is I do treasure my possessions, that is my house and my car and those things. But there are other things that I treasure. I treasure my relationship with the Lord. I treasure the church. I think that I treasure other people, but it made me think about that because Jesus said, where our treasure is, there our heart will be also. So it's a good thing for us to just examine ourselves and think about what is it the things that we really, really, really value. Because wherever that is, wherever our treasure is, there our heart will be also. Hey, that's all I have. I sure appreciate you joining us today. I hope you have a good week and you'll tune in next time.